Welcome to Techzine TV.
Welcome to a new episode of Techzine TV. We're still at HPE Discover, and we're talking to Gayle Levin. She's the head of wireless product marketing at HPE Aruba Networking. We're going to talk about Wi-Fi and private 5G, I believe, Sander.
Yeah.
And many other products.
Especially the integration between the two, because that's obviously something that is very high on the list of at least my interests when it comes to wireless.
You are a real networking guy.
I am a networking nerd. Yes, I'm a
nerd. Yeah, that's a
I'm
good
not.
word.
I'm not ashamed to admit that. So, yeah.
Thanks. Welcome, Gayle.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here with you.
You work at Aruba Networking, so you know everything about 5G and Wi-Fi and all the implementations and.
I'll do my best.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm especially interested in private 5G. So
Sure.
we've seen that come up in the market about, was it 4 or 5 years ago when it became, and obviously before that we already had private LTE, right? So it's not private thing is not new, but private 5G is relatively new.
Right.
And at first there was a bit of it was quite expensive and quite hard to do. And how has it progressed over the past 5 years or so?
Yeah, there have been a couple of changes. One is, of course, the adoption of more devices that support 5G, which you have to have that client ecosystem. And the other is we've seen, a real focus on simplicity and making it very much more accessible for the enterprise. So before, where you might have had to put together like 7 different pieces to form a solution, work with a service provider, acquire spectrum from your telecom provider, we're starting to see things like lightly licensed spectrum, CBRS in the US, other bands in other parts of the world that make it much easier to put together a solution that can be easily deployed with an interface that feels familiar to that network admin so that he or she can manage it just like they do Wi-Fi.
And what about one of the things that I remember from the early days was how do you do, especially in private 5G environments, which are usually very wide open spaces that you maybe sometimes also want to be using public cellular, right? How is that going? When you go from one environment into the other, is there a good integration already between those?
You can have interoperability between your public and your private. What you need is obviously it's tied to your SIM or your eSIM, and that's your identification that gets you onto either the public or the private network. And private 5G solutions, have a method for onboarding your eSIM so that you can connect securely to the network.
Can you be connected to both at the same time?
No, you can only be connected to one or the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you see a broadening in adoption?
eSIMs have made it easier.
Yeah, then you can have two, right?
Yeah.
But do you see a broadening in the application of private 5G because of
We
this
do.
simplification and
We do. I mean, there's been this strength really. You mentioned manufacturing. That's a very good use case. You see manufacturing factory shop floors are very hard to cover, right? There's a lot of metal and, big open spaces that are hard to get that coverage. And so private 5G does that very well because it can operate at higher receive sensitivity and really cover and blanket a space very well. So maybe one small cell from private 5G might be able to cover a mile. And
if I can do that.
you need more APs, right? And so that's one reason why we've seen a lot of it in manufacturing, and also when you have the automated vehicles, the autonomous vehicles that are going around doing a warehouse and picking the different pieces off the shelf. Private 5G is very good for that use case as well. So we see that. Go ahead.
I can imagine you often mix Wi-Fi with private 5G in many occasions. But
Yeah.
does that have influencing on each other, or how does that work?
And no, it works really well. There used to be this whole dialogue about, do you use Wi-Fi or do you use private 5G? And, the or has really been replaced by and. So now you see both of them in most environments. So one example, a large public venue, like a stadium where they play baseball. You get to the venue. This is actually all 3 of them. So you get to the venue, you're using your public cellular, right? You have your 5G on your phone. Suddenly more and more people come. You've come early, so it works. It doesn't work as well. You get on the Wi-Fi network, you start using Wi-Fi, whether it's under seat or overhead, right? And then that gets so saturated because we're having these very immersive fan experiences. And so there are back of house applications that you want to make sure keep going, right? Those are your revenue generating applications. So you have private 5G network to help supplement it and cover a very wide area of space. So they might be doing mobile ticketing at the different gates, or they might be having mobile point of sale where they're walking up and down the stands selling you beer. I always say private 5G is great for selling beer.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought you would
Your
say that.
interest on that
You've
one.
piqued
I
my
thought you
interest
would.
now.
Yeah.
But you can slice a Wi-Fi network as well to multiple SSIDs, but it doesn't solve when there's too much or too less capacity with a lot of users.
Fans, the fan experience has
Yeah.
really changed. And we look at what that that fan experience looks like, and taking the best of both of them and really bringing it together.
It's also interesting to see how the different developments in the different sides on the different sides of the aisle it influence each other, right?
Yeah.
Because as 5G technology gets better and better,
Yeah.
so maybe sometimes so it's not a fixed handover point, right?
They're,
Moving forward. So
they're
sometimes
both evolving,
yeah, they're
right? And
both evolving, and it's like
you keep up with it, right?
yeah, how do you do
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
It's really hard. We have within HPE, we have people who help support standards. And so I was talking to Gaurav, who's a distinguished technologist, and he's also sits on the board of Wi-Fi 8.
Hmm.
And so he's contributing to what is that next standard going to look like. And they're both racing to complement each other and to really deliver more. So, with Wi-Fi 8, we'll see what happens. It's a few years out, but it's looking to do a better job with roaming, and it's looking to do more uh, better quality of service, more consistent quality of service.
Do you see a future where your equipment will support both from one device?
Well, what we're hearing, I thought about that when I was learning. I was, learning more about private 5G, and we were looking at our roadmap, like where do they come together? What makes the most sense? And so everyone agrees that at the management level, you want to be able to manage both, and you want it to be almost hidden underneath what technology is being used, just as long as it works, right? And it's the best for whatever use case it is. But the actual, on the Wi-Fi side, you call it an AP. On the private 5G, call it a small cell. Those pieces of hardware, we see staying separate. They operate on different generations. They have different coverage models. If you had to combine the two, it would be very large.
Yeah,
So,
because
so
you
from
need to have room for all the
all
antennas
these
and all that.
antennas, I'm like thinking about how they're going to mount it, right?
Yeah.
That mounting kit is going to be insane,
Yeah,
right?
But you also need less small cells than you need access
Right.
points, right?
Right. You need fewer small cells
Yeah.
to cover the same as you would access points. But access points are great for high density.
Yeah.
And so that's where you'd really want to focus it. So one example, Ryder Cup. I love this example. In Italy, they wanted to make sure that they had connectivity everywhere, wireless connectivity. And they had a very unique problem. In Italy, there are a lot of archaeological ruins.
Mhm.
So they literally could not run fiber cable.
Oh yeah, they're not
right?
allowed to.
No, they're not allowed to.
Yeah.
So they used private 5G at these very far away spaces. They only needed a few for video backhaul.
Yeah.
Especially on those greens. And then, where the clubhouse is, the open spaces around the clubhouse, they use both indoor and outdoor Wi-Fi to get that coverage for the visitors.
But then obviously as the admin of the Ryder Cup, you need to have a one unified view of everything that's happening, right? Otherwise,
that's nirvana, right?
yeah,
We're
yeah.
getting there.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
And what's the place of something else 5G, like indoor 5G? We've been talking about that for some time. It's not really that doesn't really seem to take off, and there are quite good reasons why that is. Does it still have a place in this sort of constellation of the different wireless protocols?
Yeah, we've seen some good ones. Obviously, you're right. Outdoor is a huge use case. We have like wind farms in the North Sea that we support. We have mines deep down like a mile underground, all of those that we support with private 5G. Indoors, there's still attributes of private 5G that are useful, especially like in a warehouse, in an indoor warehouse where you're going to want to use those autonomous vehicles that I mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
or maybe scanners in a large warehouse where you need that big wide area coverage.
Yeah.
But we are here at the Venetian for HPE Discover with our 10,
Yeah.
20,000 people. I don't know the exact numbers, but
It feels like a lot of people.
a,
Yeah.
a lot of people, definitely. You're also supplying this hotel with Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Do you also use small cells here then?
Yeah. So Venetian is a longtime customer of HPE. We have about, I think it's 10,000 APs deployed at the hotel.
That they already have 8,000 rooms or something, so that's 8,000 APs probably.
Yeah. Did you check in your room?
No, I didn't. But
Go back and
There
check
is a
in your
box
room.
on the there's a box on the wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you probably know.
I know.
Nerd.
Yeah,
You should-
I know.
Nerd.
I noticed it. Yeah,
You
yeah.
checked.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we have Wi-Fi blanketing everything, right?
Yeah.
But we also have a small private 5G network. A lot of it is for demonstration purposes, but we also see it used a lot for perhaps like a video camera surveillance for safety, or even on a university campus.
That's a permanent install here for the small cell.
For the small cells, that's something we brought with
Oh,
us,
you brought
and
for the event. Okay.
they're looking at how they might do it in the future. I think one use case that would work really well is some of the truck bays downstairs as they're looking to get that coverage. That would work very well. I heard a story of a bus company that was looking to use private 5G because they had so many IoT sensors and smart data that they were collecting that when they were using Wi Fi, by the time they got to the bay, they had to take like an extra 5 or 10 minutes to upload all their data from their sensors. And so by using private 5G, they could go from maybe a kilometer out and start collecting that data and not have to have that wait time in the bus bay.
Something that just hit me is that if you have an environment with both technologies, you also have a very natural segmentation going on between the things, right? If you mentioned the Ryder Cup where they use it for video backhaul for the cameras.
Yeah.
Ideally, you want that on a separate network, right? And if you have it all on the LAN,
Yeah.
then you need to do
You have
need
to
to
segment the
physically segment
traffic somehow, right?
now you don't really have to do that because it's on a different.
It's done for you, right?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting application as
It's
well.
very convenient, right?
Yeah.
And that we will integrate the management of both.
That's what we're working on now. So,
you're working on it. Okay.
HP Aruba Networking Central is our single pane of glass for management and orchestration, and the vision is to bring private 5G into it. So all the configuration, management, optimization, all the cool things we learned about agentic AI. I see a day where the agentic AI mesh will be able to say for this application, private 5G is better. For this one, we want to use Wi-Fi and have that all going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And what I've also heard is that Wi-Fi 8. I mean, I had a chat with
Who'd you talk to?
with Phil Mottram yesterday,
Yeah.
and he said, well, Wi-Fi 7 has until the end of 2026. I mean, that's the sort of accepted date of when Wi-Fi 8 maybe becoming more.
I've heard. I think that's a little optimistic, but
Yeah, well, maybe he was trying to push a message. I don't know, but
Let's put it a bit slower. Huh?
no, but I mean,
Well, that's probably when the consumer ones will come
Yeah,
out.
Yeah.
Because there's always
Yeah,
a
we
lag
had
between
Wi-Fi
the
5 forever, and then we
Yeah.
got 6, 7.
yeah, but
yeah, no, the consumer stuff always comes out first.
and then we
and
talked
it's-
about so Wi-Fi 8 having more compute as well, and because you
Oh,
triggered me
interesting.
when you talked about different applications and maybe making it smarter to know this
Yeah.
application should be pushed there and this application should be pushed there, and especially when AI hits and you get more interesting use cases for that in the network as well, you're going to need more compute on the APs as well. So
That's a really good example. So there's the standard, and then there's, what we think our customers need, which is usually above and beyond the standard. So for Wi-Fi 7, one of the things we did was we looked at, IoT adoption. Those devices are skyrocketing. How can we help do a better job managing at the edge? So we decided to put more horsepower on the APs themselves so that they can run containerized applications and they can run IoT containerized applications from our app store. And so we can do some of that pre-processing at the edge, get it to the compute where we're doing AI and do better AI inferencing at the edge.
and then you get a wireless or an AP foil, if you will, of what's happening in the CX10K, right? So where you offload stuff to so Could be interesting moving towards the future, I think.
I think
Yeah.
it is too.
I get the feeling Sander can talk for another 45 minutes, but
Yes.
yeah.
Are you
But
networked out?
we need to wrap up a bit.
Oh,
so,
okay.
there's
Oh,
someone
okay.
standing in
Okay.
the corner.
My strawberry story
Yeah, sure.
of 5G. This is my favorite story, and Ben loves it. So we have a customer in Australia, and in Australia, they're resource constrained. They don't have a lot of people to go out in the field to pick their strawberries. So they're using AI and video tools to decide in robotics,
Mhm.
say, is the strawberry ripe? Should I pick it? And they're using private 5G mounted on the back of a truck to provide that connectivity out in the field so that the strawberries can get picked and on the
They
shelves
get
in the
picked by
stores.
robots then?
They get picked by robots. Yeah. So
Interesting.
before you know it, maybe that'll happen to us too. Our strawberries will be picked.
Sounds interesting. Okay, thank you, Gail, for your insights on Aruba networking. And yeah, Sander, that's it for
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. I know.
Good talking with you both.
Very sad.
Thank you. Thank you for watching Techzine TV. We'll be back with more videos from HPE Discover, so keep watching.
Thank you for watching Techzine TV, the channel about enterprise technology that brings you IT insights and analyses from events all around the globe. We cover everything, everywhere. Visit techzine.eu for more written in-depth articles and analysis, or keep watching techzine.tv. Don't forget to subscribe to our channels and share your favorite videos with your colleagues. We'll see you soon.